This is seriously my favorite topic ever. Someone asks you for a favor, a client asks you for a discount, your boss asks you to work extra hours, and you want to say no, but you don't want to upset anyone. I know what this feels like because I am a recovering yes person, meaning I could only say yes. I didn't know how to say no. I didn't know how to say no in a way that felt good. I was always afraid of upsetting someone. And so today we are going to use my 5 C's method of saying no politely, but firmly, confidently, so that you feel good about it. If I've learned one thing in all of my years, it's that saying no is actually not something that upsets the right people. It might upset the wrong people, but saying no makes the right people respect you more. So if you need to say no, this is the video for you. And even if you don't need to say no to anything right away, I'm sure there will be something soon. And I think my 5 C's method is quite practical. So let's go. Let's jump in. Okay, so you want to say no, but you don't want to ruin any relationships. Maybe you're also a recovering nice girl or a nice guy. But again, the better you get at saying no politely but firmly, the more people will respect you. And actually, the more people will like you. So this is actually a very important skill that we do not learn in school, unfortunately. So I'm going to share my 5 C's framework. You're going to learn phrases, rationale, mindset for how to be better at saying no. And if you would like to speak with more confidence and ease and be a world-class communicator, get on the wait list for my Fluent Communication 5.0 program at gonaturalenglish.com/fluent. So first, I have lived in different cultures around the world. I've lived in Japan, I've lived in Brazil, I have stayed extended lengths of time in different countries, and there's one thing that I noticed is that no doesn't actually mean no everywhere in the world. Let me explain. In some cultures, like let's say in the United States, which is where I'm from, we can be quite direct. I believe this is the case also in places like Scandinavia or Germany, where they're known for being quite direct. If you ask someone a question, they will say no. If you say, for example, do you want to meet up on Saturday? If they don't want to, they will say no. However, when I lived in Japan, I would ask questions at work, and instead of saying no, they would say, which is actually not really using words or saying anything, but it is communicating hesitance. Hesitance can mean no in more indirect cultures. Like in Brazil, when I lived in Brazil and I would ask if someone wanted to get together, they wouldn't necessarily always say no if they couldn't. They might say, well, I'll let you know, or si Deus quiser, like God willing. And I didn't quite always understand that. So if you are from a more indirect culture, like the example in Japan or in Brazil, it might feel very direct, too direct, uncomfortably direct to say no. But I will tell you that there are polite ways to be direct, and that's what I want to share with my 5 C's method. So the first C is check. If you don't want to say no very directly, you could say, let me check and get back to you. So if you want to be polite but direct, this is a great phrase. If your boss asks for an extra report, for example, you could say, let me check my schedule and let you know if that's possible by the end of the week. Then you have a little bit of a buffer. You can take your time and get back to that person, and you don't have to answer right in that moment. So you're buying time here. The second C is a conditional yes. So if this happens, then I can say yes. And you can make the if very far-fetched if you really don't want to say yes. if pigs fly, then I will go out on Saturday. No, don't say that. That's just a silly example. Here's a more realistic example. If we can extend the deadline, then I will be able to give you another report. The third C is a choice. So you can offer an alternative choice or option. So another choice would be, that may not work, but can we try an alternative approach? For example, I might not be able to get you another report by Friday, but what if we touch base on Monday? 4, this is a really important one, is care. Showing care. It's showing empathy, and this really works very well. It's important to show that you understand how the other person might feel. It also buys you time to think. So for example, you could say, I understand that this project and the report is very important to you, and you're probably under a lot of stress. So I understand where you're coming from, but unfortunately, I am just slammed with work this week, and it's going to be difficult to get another report to you by Friday. Let me see what else I could do to help. So you're showing empathy, you're actually saying, you're verbalizing how you think the other person might feel. And trust me, this goes a long way. This is also a tactic you can use if you're in a customer service role. That's very, very useful, especially if someone is a bit stressed out or getting upset. But it's even practical to use it before someone gets upset because you can avoid that whole situation. And the 5th C is close firmly. I appreciate the offer, but that just won't be possible. I understand what you're asking, but unfortunately, it's just not possible at this time. So notice that I'm using some phrases as softeners like just or at this time. These help to soften your no, but still remain firm. When you are showing empathy, use a rising tone. I completely understand. And then when you're actually saying your no, use a falling tone to show your confidence in your decision. But unfortunately, it is not possible at this time. I appreciate the offer, but I have to decline. Let's try a role play. A client asks, can I have a 10% discount? I completely understand your budget concerns, but unfortunately that's not possible at this time. We can, however, add an extra month of support at no extra cost. Scenario 2, your boss asks for extra work. Can you finish this today? I'd love to help, but I already have 2 other deadlines today. Would tomorrow morning work? Okay, let's recap. If you need to delay a no, if you need to postpone that decision, buy yourself a little more time, then which C would you use? If you said check, as in let me check with so-and-so, or let me check my schedule, or just simply let me check, period, and get back to you. If you want to say no politely, you can thank the person for their offer or their request, but politely decline. I appreciate the offer. Thank you for your offer. I understand your request, but I just can't. I'm so sorry. And you don't have to apologize, but it can add a little bit more politeness. I'm not a huge fan of saying sorry all the time, but that is up to you. If it makes you feel better, say it. If you want to add an alternative, you can say, that may not work. However, what if we, and then fill in the blank. Now you can say no without feeling bad about it. Professionally, kindly. Remember, clear and firm is kind. And people will respect you more when you can clearly say no. Because honestly, there's so many things in our lives that we have the opportunity to say yes to, and we have to say no to some of them. So now you know how to say no, but what if you want to say yes? The next free Friday Go Natural English lesson, we're going to talk about how to say yes in interviews so that you get the job. There is an art to this. It's not just as simple as saying yes, because you are a world-class speaker and you don't answer in one-word sentences. We're going to explore how to craft your yes answers in the most professional way. So make sure you subscribe and come back next Friday. And remember, if you want coaching and feedback to become a world-class communicator, join the waitlist for my Fluent Communication 5.0 course at gonaturalenglish.com/fluent. I'll see you there. Bye for now.